Smash! Space Marines.
Heya! Today we're debuting a new series on the channel. Without question, there is a multitude of miniatures depicting our favorite heroes, villains, and every alignment in between of our power-armored pals. It's honestly kind of bonkers how many niche characters have miniatures, but I feel as if there's a ton of more important characters that are undeservingly without a plastic counterpart. And today I'm setting out on a quest to fix that using the power of kitbashing. To start this series, I'm creating a character of whom admittedly holds a little bit more personal value to me. And that is Varzival Czervantes of the Angels Resplendent. And I promise after this video I'll cool it with this chapter. I just kind of see these guys as my dudes a little bit, even though I didn't create them. But whatever. Enough yapping, let's get into the kit bashing. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe with notifications on. It really helps. Okay, I'm actually getting into it this time, I promise. So to start us out, I wanted some proper chunky armor. And for this I used the Legion Traitor from the Horus Heresy line. This armor is decadent, and it just screams Blood Angels to me. Especially with the padding within the head slot. That is over the top, and I love it. What I don't love is this big-ass sword, so naturally we begin by snipping it off. Surprisingly, I did it in one snip. I wish it was that smooth every time. I then begin properly assembling him, and I feel quite confident that this body is appropriate to the character. It's big, bulky for a chapter master, but it's also within the same height as a firstborn marine. I really dig how regal all the ornaments are. I think this is very, very fitting for the chapter's identity, being that they were kind of connoisseurs of the arts. I know it's fancy schmancy Blood Angel stuff, but hey, I think it looks cool. I also then decided instead of a sword to go with a Warhammer. Why, I don't really know, I just kind of wanted to spice it up. So I took this Salamander's upgrade hammer and I trimmed it to size. I also made sure to shave off the little flame icon. Thankfully it came with two, so whatever, I have a spare one, this works. I really had to make sure to sand it down properly to make sure that there was no remnant of the flame iconography. There were definitely a couple times that I thought I sanded it down appropriately and then the light hit it just right and I could still see it. When it came to gluing it on, it was a little fiddly, but after a while I worked it out. So for his backpack, I decided to cannibalize all my old Blood Angels characters, and I used the Blood Angels Chaplain. Why does he have a mustache? Anyway, I figured his jump pack would be perfect, so I ended up stripping the old paint and I glued it on. I kinda wish I had it separate though. There was something that I wanted to try with the painting that would have been easier if I had it separate, but overall I'm happy with how it turned out, so whatever. The cement glue proved to be a little too fiddly, so I ended up using some proper plastic glue. I had to make sure it really held in place, and it did take a little while, but once it adhered, it was perfect. Honestly, the body and this backpack were kind of a match made in heaven. I feel like these are the two main puzzle pieces that made this miniature work. I think it's a really iconic look, and I hope I kind of set a trend with this one. I'd also end up using the left pauldron from the chaplain as well. I figured it would work well in terms of painting on a more modified version of the chapter badge. I've mentioned before that I think the chapter badge for the Angels Resplendent is a little goofy, but I still kind of like it. I also ended up finding a basic Blood Angels pauldron that actually kind of fit the iconography better, but I ended up putting it on the right shoulder instead as I felt that the chaplain pauldron just stood out more. As far as the head, I just couldn't resist using the Sanguinary Guard helmet from the old Blood Angels upgrade kit. Man, this thing brings back memories. My first real army was Blood Angels, and I'll never forget the Christmas where I got a whole Blood Angels army. A lot of them I've since then stripped or they're just in storage, but man, I have a special place in my heart for these guys. I did kind of fiddle with having Cervantes have a bare head that I could paint, but why bother? Once I'd placed the head on, I'd go around the model and clean up any dried paint stuck to the recesses, sand things down, all that. I want this guy sparkling clean for painting. I'd also end up clipping a Primaris helm, as this would be a little effigy of an angel's penitent that he'd more than likely have to put down in an effort to restore the chapter's former glory. That was a mouthful of a sentence, Jesus. I was pretty happy with him overall, but I felt that the hammer was a little dull. So I ended up using this little pendant thing from the Sergeant's battle banner from the original Blood Angels set. I figured it worked pretty nicely, and I think it looks pretty damn cool. It was kind of a pain in the ass to glue on, but that was ultimately more on the fault of my Tamiya cement being really thin. And by proxy, that's my fault. I did also end up adding a little purity seal to the hammer as well. This was a little bit during the painting process that I decided to add it on. I really didn't add any purity seals besides this one though, which was kind of weird. If I had to go back, maybe I would add a few more, but I don't know, I think he looks fine without him. So now that he's all built, looking spiffy, it's time to paint. Keep in mind, this video is more of a kitbashing video, so the painting will be a little bit secondary. However, all the more important parts of the painting are filmed, and I will have all the recipes up in the corners. During this portion, I'll recite a little bit of lore. I do have a video more dedicated to the lore itself, but I didn't talk in much detail on Cervantes. If you've seen the video, and you should check it out, it would make me very, very happy, I mentioned that Cervantes has very minimal lore in some aspects. He's a character whose absence is far more impactful to the story than his actual presence. Amongst the chapter, he's known as the Angels Resplendent, and his current whereabouts are unknown. Several years prior, he had journeyed off with the entirety of the First Company on a crusade, but they never returned. He's presumed dead, which does not sit well with me. It's more than likely that he is, but I just can't accept it. From the most late portion of his story, he's looked upon as a beacon of hope, mostly by those that still value the Angels Resplendent code. As a young captain, he partook in a crusade within the Providence system. The idea was to bring the system within the reach of the Imperium and thus become part of it. The effort would be in vain, however, as the people of the system would be less than willing to play along, and the Imperium was none too happy about this. As you can probably guess, this did not sit well with them, and they instantly started tearing ass. The Angels were rather disappointed in this outcome, as they felt diplomacy should have been the first option. After this incident, Cervantes and his brothers would find themselves on a shrine world. This planet was home to a group of Adeptus Sororitas known as the Last Candle. It would quickly turn into a waking nightmare, however, as the Sister Shrine was built on a webway gate. An utter armada of chaos demons would flood the construct, and the Angels Resplendent and Uncorrupted Sisters would spring to the defense of the survivors. They'd fight off demons and heretics alike, and one of the survivors would be known as Athanasius. Athanasius was a young psyker of whom would become the chapter's most notable chief librarian. He was also a rather key player in this whole story, but let's stick to Cervantes. Cervantes, during his tenure as a captain, wouldn't be fully accepted by his brothers. Unsurprisingly, this caused quite a bit of inner turmoil. But this is something that he would share with his muse, Marisol. Marisol was also his companion. As you can probably guess, the Angels Resplendent were rather lax at the Codex Astartes, meaning they just kinda dunked it in the trash can. But what makes him special is he's one of the few Angels Resplendent that truly lived up to the original code. He had a clear-cut adoration for the arts as well as compassion. He stands out as a shining example of what an Angels Resplendent Marine should be. This is why his disappearance and potential return is so important. He truly is the key to his chapter's fate. Whether he never returned and the chapter completely goes down the path of evil and self-penance, or to whether or not his former chapter's glory and honor is restored. Of course, that isn't to implicate that the original Angels Resplendent were completely squeaky clean, they were hiding incredibly dark secrets. But with Cervantes at the helm, I like to believe that they'd factor in a new era, one of which their original ideals are restored. The only problem is even if he does come back, what then? At least to our knowledge, he'd be completely unaware of the change, and it's not like he'd have the drop on him. In the eyes of the Angels Penitent, he's a traitor and a heretic. So essentially, his return would result in a bloodbath, and I'm not sure that I would favor his side. But I'd like to think that he's the glimmer of hope that's gonna show up, kick ass, and purge the shit out of some self-flogging nerds. But above all, once I've painted this miniature up, I think he looks amazing. I'm particularly satisfied with the metallics. I think that was a lot of fun to paint, and I'm honestly just really proud with what I came up with as far as the kitbash goes. The armor along with the jump pack just works so well, and I think it's just a really well-proportioned mini. The only thing I'm not 100% on is the Warhammer, and I think that's something that a lot of people feel the same. And honestly, same with the Volkite charger. I just didn't really feel like messing with it. I kinda liked how it looked to begin with, but I kinda wish I went with something a little bit more Blood Angels-y. I don't know, maybe I'm being too picky, but I think I did the character service. And I'd love to know if you guys end up building this guy, or end up using some of the ideas I used for your Blood Angels armies or successors. And like always, if you liked what you saw or found it helpful, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more. It helps so much. And honestly, helping people out with more niche armies is something that I want to do with this series. Of course, I'll end up doing lesser known characters that are part of well-known armies, but I think doing a niche of a niche is the most interesting thing a painter can do. Hell, it's a big part of why I started this channel. And with that, please comment if there's a character that you want to see kitbashed. After talking to some good friends in the hobby space, I've got more than a few in the pipeline, but more ideas is always welcome. But I think I've flat my beak enough. Check out the Discord if you want to hang out with more fellow painters like me and some other friends of mine. Would love to have you. And I'll leave you with a mishmash kitbash and paint some fantastic miniatures. And you're gonna. I promise. See ya.